Rebecca Pritchard vanished from TV after her husband's affair exploded into a pub brawl that shocked the nation. Stay till the end to discover how she built $1 million empire from the ruins of her broken marriage. You know that feeling when you think you know someone, but then their true story comes out and it changes everything. That's exactly what happened with Rebecca Pritchard from Salvage Hunters. Most people think she just quietly left the show, but the real truth is way more dramatic than anyone imagined. Rebecca didn't just disappear from TV, she was forced out by one of the biggest scandals in British reality television. And here's the crazy part, she came back stronger than ever. By the time I finish telling you this story, you'll understand why Rebecca Pritchard is one of the most underestimated women in business today. Let me start with the night everything changed. It's 2017, and Rebecca is sitting at home when her phone starts buzzing with calls from reporters. Her husband Drew had just been beaten up in a pub, and the whole thing was caught on camera. But this wasn't some random fight, this was revenge. And Rebecca had no idea it was coming. You see, while Rebecca was busy making Salvage Hunters one of the most popular shows on British TV, her husband was having an affair. Not just any affair, one that would destroy two families and end up in court. The woman's name was Amanda Thomas, and she was married to a successful businessman named Janice. But here's where it gets really interesting. Amanda's husband found out about the affair in the most modern way possible, through phone record. He saw Drew's number appearing dozens of times in his wife's call logs. When he confronted Amanda, she broke down and admitted everything. She had been seeing Drew for months, and they were planning to leave their families to be together. Now most people would have handled this quietly, maybe through lawyers or private conversations. But Janice was furious, and Drew made a huge mistake. When Amanda tried to end the affair, Drew sent her a text message calling her husband a coward for not seeking revenge. Amanda showed this message to her husband, and that's when everything exploded. Janice knew exactly where to find Drew: the Liverpool Arms pub in Conway, Wales. Drew was there on a Friday night, surrounded by fans and fellow dealers. According to witnesses, Janice walked in calmly, approached Drew's table, and said his name. When Drew looked up with what people described as a smirk, Janice punched him in the face. Hard. Drew went down, and Janice hit him several more times before other people stopped the fight. The whole thing was over in seconds, but the consequences lasted for years. Janice was charged with assault and had to pay over £1,700 in compensation. He was banned from multiple pubs in the area. Drew, despite being the victim, was also banned from the Liverpool Arms for life. But the story doesn't end there. After the pub fight became public, something shocking happened. Amanda Thomas received dozens of messages from other women. These women claimed they had also been having affairs with Drew. They accused Amanda of ruining their relationships with him. This meant Drew wasn't just cheating with one person. He had been cheating with multiple women for years. Imagine being Rebecca in that moment. Your husband's affair is front-page news. He's been beaten up in public. And then you discover it wasn't just one affair. It was the man you trusted, the father of your children, the business partner you built an empire with, had been lying to you for years. Rebecca had to keep working. She still had to film Salvage Hunters episodes, appear at events, and act like everything was normal. People who worked on the show said she lost a lot of weight during this time. She would have panic attacks before filming. Makeup artists had to work extra hard to hide how stressed she looked. But here's what makes Rebecca's story so incredible. She didn't just survive this scandal. She used it to build something better. And to understand how she did it, you need to know who Rebecca really was before Salvage Hunters. Most people think Rebecca was just Drew's wife who happened to be good with antiques. That's completely wrong. Rebecca had her own successful business for over 20 years before she ever met Drew. She worked in the fashion industry, traveling between the UK and Hong Kong, running manufacturing and wholesale operations. She was making serious money and had built a network of international contact. When she met Drew in the early 1990s, she wasn't some struggling person looking for a husband to support her. She was a successful businesswoman who happened to walk into his antique shop. Drew was immediately impressed by her knowledge of design, quality and business. They fell in love, but they also became business partners. Rebecca's fashion industry connections helped Drew expand his antique business. Her eye for style and trends revolutionized how he presented his item. When they bought their famous 18th century chapel in 1995, it was Rebecca's design skills that turned it into a showpiece. The house had incredible features, including a toilet that once belonged to Mick Jagger from the Rolling Stone. When Salvage Hunters started in 2011, Rebecca was supposed to stay behind the scenes. But something amazing happened when the cameras started rolling. Rebecca was a natural on TV. She could explain complex historical details in simple terms. She had genuine passion for restoring old items. Viewers loved her immediately. The producers noticed that episodes featuring Rebecca got higher ratings. Fan mail poured in praising her knowledge and teaching style, so they gave her more screen time, and eventually she became co-host of the show. But even then, many people still saw her as Drew's wife, rather than recognizing her own expertise. This frustrated Rebecca more than anyone knew. She had decades of experience in business and design, but critics kept saying she was only successful because of her husband. The irony was painful. Rebecca had actually helped Drew become successful, not the other way around. When the spin-off show Salvage Hunters The Restorers launched, Rebecca finally got to prove herself. She led restoration projects, made executive decisions, and worked directly with craftsmen. For 6 seasons, she stepped out of Drew's shadow, and showed she was an expert in her own right. The show was a huge success, and industry professionals finally started recognizing Rebecca's individual talents. But behind the scenes, her marriage was falling apart. Drew was spending more time at events and parties without Rebecca. He was enjoying his celebrity status, and the attention it brought. Meanwhile, Rebecca was juggling 2 TV shows, managing their business interests, and raising their 2 children, Tom and Grace. The affair with Amanda Thomas started innocently. Amanda's son was friends with Tom Pritchard, so the families met at school events. Drew and Amanda began talking, first about their children, then about other things. Those conversations turned into text messages, then secret meetings, then a full affair. Rebecca was so focused on work and family that she missed the warning signs. When friends hinted that something might be wrong, she defended Drew. She couldn't believe the man she had built her life with would betray her so completely. The truth came out in the worst possible way. Not only did she discover the affair through newspaper headlines, but she also learned about all the other women. The man she had sacrificed her own fashion business for, the person she had shared the spotlight with generously, had been systematically lying to her for years. The divorce proceedings in 2017 were brutal. Their shared assets were worth £8 million, and everything had to be divided. The chapel they had lovingly restored together was put up for sale for $7,000 to $95,000. Every piece of furniture, every antique they had collected together, had to be evaluated and split up. Rebecca's last appearance on Salvage Hunters was in season 8. There's a moment in that episode where she's discussing how to restore a damaged Victorian mirror, and people who were there said she became very emotional. The symbolism wasn't lost on anyone. Here was a woman talking about fixing broken things, while her own life was in peace. Her farewell message was simple but powerful. I've been with this series since day one, and honestly I've loved it. It's been an educational experience. I've met hoarders, historians, antique dealers, and your viewing has really made the program what it is today. So take good care and thank you very much. Those words hid months of pain, difficult decisions, and incredible courage. Rebecca was walking away from the show that had made her famous, the career that had defined her public identity, and the partnership that had been her life's work. But this is where Rebecca's story becomes truly inspiring. Instead of disappearing or feeling sorry for herself, She rebuilt her entire life from scratch, and she did it using the same skills that had made her successful in fashion and television. First, she returned to property development, but this time she wasn't just buying and selling houses. She was creating unique experiences. Rebecca opened a bed and breakfast that became incredibly popular with visitors to North Wales. Every room was carefully designed with period antiques and modern comfort. Guests loved the attention to detail and the stories behind each piece. She also developed a campsite and holiday accommodation business. Instead of basic camping, Rebecca created themed experience. Each accommodation told a historical story, featuring carefully chosen antique pieces and modern amenities that enhanced rather than took away from the atmosphere. But the most impressive part of Rebecca's comeback was her return to the antiques world as an independent dealer. No longer working with Drew, no longer constrained by TV schedules, Rebecca could finally show her full expertise. She began working with private clients, interior designers and exclusive residential projects. Her client list grew quickly to include celebrities, luxury hotels, and high-end developments throughout the UK and Europe. The woman who had been introduced as Drew's wife was now simply Rebecca Pritchard, successful entrepreneur and respected expert. Rebecca also rediscovered her love of horses. She had ridden as a child, but had given it up during her marriage. Now horse riding became both therapy and business opportunity. She met many of her current business partners through equestrian events and riding club. Her interest in cooking, which had been just a hobby, turned into another income stream. Guests at her properties began requesting cooking classes and special meal experiences. Rebecca's ability to source local ingredients and create menus that matched the historical atmosphere of her accommodations became legendary. Perhaps most significantly, Rebecca embraced a caravanning lifestyle. The woman who used to fly first class to Hong Kong for business meetings now travels the countryside in a carefully equipped caravan. She visits antique fairs, estate sales, and hidden gems that others might miss. This slower approach to travel and business reflects hard-won wisdom about what truly matters in life. The transformation is remarkable. The woman who once felt she had to prove her expertise to TV producers now has clients seeking her out based purely on her reputation. The person who endured public humiliation has built a life characterized by authentic relationships and meaningful work. Rebecca's relationship with her children has grown stronger through the difficulty. Tom, now in his 20s, has shown interest in the antique business, but he's developing his own expertise rather than relying on either parent's fame. Grace has remained more private, but both children have learned valuable lessons about resilience and authenticity from their mother. Today, at 66 years old, Rebecca represents something rare in our celebrity-obsessed world. Someone who chose substance over fame, authenticity over attention, and personal growth over public validation. Her businesses continue to thrive, her expertise is more sought after than ever, and her personal life appears to reflect the peace that eluded her during her years in the spotlight. The antique industry has taken notice of her success. Several publications have featured her as an example of how traditional expertise and modern marketing can create sustainable businesses outside entertainment media. Her approach to social media is deliberately minimal, focusing on showcasing her work rather than her personal life. Recent reports suggest that Rebecca's independent dealing business has become so successful that she can be highly selective about projects. She works only with clients who appreciate both her expertise and her time. This level of professional autonomy, achieved after years of compromise, represents perhaps the greatest victory in her post-TV career. There have been rumors about Rebecca's personal life, including speculation about a relationship with John T., a former Salvage Hunters cast member. But unlike her ex-husband, who continues to court publicity, Rebecca has chosen complete privacy about her personal relationships. She focuses on her businesses and family rather than seeking attention from the media. Rebecca's story teaches us that expertise and hard work eventually triumph over celebrity and connection. Her journey from the depths of public humiliation to the heights of independent success proves that true strength isn't about avoiding problems,
It's about how we respond when problems are unavoidable. Rebecca's story continues to unfold, but what we've seen so far shows remarkable resilience, unwavering professionalism, and the kind of quiet strength that transforms not just individual lives, but everyone fortunate enough to witness it in action. Hit that subscribe button if you want more untold stories about the people behind your favorite TV show.